This one we're going to create the composition that we had pointed out earlier. I don't know where that is, so we'll just get going. So anyhow, inside this menu here, let's create a new file. I'm going to go to print and choose the letter option. Let's go ahead and call this our last name. Mine happens to be Kern, and then your first name. Mine happens to be Josh, and then this is called power of line assignment, or just power of line. I'm going to change this to inches because we're familiar with inches, and then everything inside of this document will be in inches, and it'll just kind of be familiar with us. I'm going to keep mine portrait. You're welcome to change it to landscape if you want to, and then I'm going to use the RGB color profile. Even though we're actually not using color, it's going to be irrelevant. So just go ahead and hit create, and we're ready to rock and roll. All right, so I'm going to actually jump into a different assignment here. Here's the one where you can see I was toying around with the examples right there, and then I'm just going to use that same document right here. All right, the first thing that we're going to do is use our line segment tool, which is this one right here, and I'm just going to try and use the hotkey. It's that slash underneath the delete tool. I'm just going to divide this up. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm going off the page. What I want to do is create, one. If I can count the shapes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you want like 6 or 7 shapes in here, and make sure your line goes off the page. Next thing I'm going to do is hit M, and I'm going to actually fill this in with white. If I click this right here, it's going to give me my default colors, which if I have colors here, and you know what, I lied, sorry. Let's just keep it simple here. I'll retract that. I'm going to just fill this in with white, okay? And then I have a black stroke. And right when I put my cursor right here and it says intersect, it's just going to give me a little secret hint that I am going to drag out a rectangle and it will fill the artboard right there. And that white area is called the artboard. So I'm going to drag this out just like that. Cool. And what I'm going to do now is hit Command A to select everything, but I had forgotten that I actually have some other stuff right here. So what I'm going to do is actually just hit V, and you can too, and drag that out. And now I have everything selected here. I'm going to use those lines right there. Those lines are going to actually cut up this rectangle into pieces, and so those lines are going to disappear. So if you come over to your properties panel right here with it selected, and we want to look for the pathfinder, and then click these 3 dots, and we have some more options right here, which is this option right here, the divide. And so we essentially just cut it up. And you can see that the lines that extended past here now disappeared. Now this thing, if we try and pull it apart, we can't because it's defaulted to be grouped together. So I'm going to right click it and then ungroup that, or Command Shift G to ungroup it. And so that way when I click right here to deselect everything and then click right here, you can see that these are all little pieces, okay? Now it's important to not move these, and so I'm actually going to hit Command S to save this right now. And I'm going to pop over to my layers palette, and this is going to be a little bit confusing because I've got so many other things from that other document, which I should have probably grouped for you. So we'll do our best. Needless to say, this one is, it's kind of hard to see these shapes disappear because they have overlapping. So here's that one right there, okay? I'll just hit Command Z. So make sure you're using Command Z if you're ever messing things up. All right, in order to, just like what we were doing in our clipping mask example, and I'm just gonna move this right here for a moment, and then let's say I make a bunch of lines, and I will drag out a line, and then I'll hit Command D, 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 okay? Now we've got our back shape right there. What I want to, and that's going to be our mainstay shape. So we want to create another shape to be the cookie cutter or clipping mask shape. So if I hit Command C to copy it, and if I hit Command V to paste, it will paste it in here, but it didn't put it on top. And so what I want to do is hit Command C to copy, and then when I hit Command Shift V, it will paste it right on top in place of everything else. And so I've got one right here and one behind it. And so now if I drag a box over everything, I can then right click this and then go to make clipping mask. Look, it will clip all of those lines inside the clipping mask and use the shape behind that clipping mask shape, and it will retain it. So just like what we were doing with like the Ron Burgundy example, remember we needed to drag out another copy because when you use your clipping mask, the clipping mask disappears. And I'll prove that to you just one more time. Here, let me use this. I'll make a red circle right here. And the cookie cutters on top, which is the red circle. If I select those and if I right click, make clipping mask, see how the red circle disappeared. So that's why we always duplicate the shape. Okay, so I'm gonna undo that, and so my shape goes back in here. It was kind of nice to move this over here so I wasn't interacting with these ones and accidentally moving them. But what I have for you is kind of a different secret trick. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna adjust or toy with this one, and that means that each one of these, if I hold shift click and each one of these are selected, we're gonna hide those ones, okay? But I have a faster way of doing this. We select the one that we want, okay? Now let's go up to select and let's invert the selection. So now we're actually selecting all of them but the one that we selected. And then, and consequently, I'm selecting all of the stuff over there. And then what we're gonna do is go to object, and then we're just gonna hit hide selection. If you wanna remember that, it's Command 3. We're gonna hide what is selected. And so all of the things that now were selected are now hidden. And so now we're just left chilling with this one right here, okay? And we wanna make sure that we keep these in their original spots, right? So now what we can do is start toying with our line. And since you had already watched that in the previous example, and I, of course, lost these over here, I wasn't going to model it, but I guess now that I've lost those, it will be faster for me to just model this real fast. I'm going to use my pen tool to create this kind of wavy line, okay, something like that. Okay, V to get out of that. And then I'm going to drag out a copy, and then I'm going to hit Command D, 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 D. And what I want to make sure is that I at least have enough to fill that in. I don't want this to have any fills, by the way, so I'm going to hit no fill on that. Then I'll group those together by hitting Command G, and then I'll bring this on over here. And then, what else could I add to this? Maybe I want to vary some of these, so I could grab my white arrow tool to select this one, go to my properties, and just to add some contrast or maybe a center of emphasis. Maybe every few has a thick line. Okay, so if I went 1, 2, 3 in between, so 1, 2, 3 in between. To be honest, I don't really care if you play around with color. Just know that when you introduce color, you are now creating some issues here. And in fact, I haven't talked about this color picker, so I'm just gonna bring my swatch forward, or just maybe grab it from here. Okay, just know that we're going to introduce color. We're going to create kind of a maybe an ununified composition, but color's fun, so let's do it. All right, now I need to create my cookie cutter. So I'm going to select the shape behind it, which I've got now, and I'm going to hit Command C to copy and then Command Shift V to paste it right on top. And so now all I need to do is drag my line over that or selector on that, right click, and then do make clipping mask, and now it's cut out. So now I have that really just inside that. And if I wanted to add more, I could undo that, or I could right click this and then release the clipping mask, and then maybe I wanted to add some diagonal crisscrossing lines to this that were geometric. Okay. And that's kind of getting a little bit messy, but you get the idea, right? And then just reapply the process. Okay, so now what we need to do is bring the other stuff back. And I'm going to go to my layers here, and you can see that this stuff's in a nice clipping mask. What I'm going to do is just lock that so that can't be moved. And then I'll go ahead and hit Command S to save. All right, now we just need to bring everything back. So the fastest way to do that is to go to Object and then Show All. And then now everything's back again. We'll repeat the process, at which I'll do one more time to hide them, but it's up to you now to kind of repeat the steps over and over again. So I'm going to take this shape right here, and then I need to, since this is the one that I want, we'll go to Select, and then we'll go to Invert the selection. So that means it's now selected everything that I don't want. Go to Object, go to Hide, and then the selections. So now everything is gone. This thing is retained because it's locked, and so it was never selected to begin with. And if you want it to disappear, you can just hit the eyeball there and it's gone. But just know, since it's locked, nothing will happen to it. I'm going to hit the eyeball so it's gone. Okay, now we can go ahead and toy with this and repeat the steps in here. So I'm going to go to the actual assignment, and gosh, I can't remember where I placed it. Hopefully it's easy to find. If it's not, then you'll have to refer to some of the other examples that I shared with you. Yes, right here. So I'm going to open this up, and then we can take a little bit of a closer look at some of the examples. So again, here are some of the examples that we're seeing. So just kind of take a look at them. You're welcome to copy anything. These ones are kind of fun, finding a point or at the corner and then drawing lines from there, and then doing it from another corner, drawing lines. I like how this one has some zigzag lines, but there's a break in between them. So those are definitely some things that you can be toying around with. And then some hand-drawn lines. I like this one right here. They used the kind of these hand-drawn lines to create a shape, and then they drew some straight lines inside of them, and then kind of made a clipping mask out of that. So I guess I could model that real fast for you. So if we were going to use N, and I'm going to double click this, make sure my fidelity is smooth, and if I'm going to, let's see, kind of do a curve, and you can see how sloppy that is. I even had that little tweak thing in there, but watch how it just kind of, bam. Okay, and it still has it in there, and I don't really like that, so I'm going to undo. Okay, and that little circle that's next to my cursor means it's going to close, which it is. And so I'm going to do a clipping mask within a clipping mask. So I'm going to bring this over here, and then I'm going to use my line segment tool. Let's make it kind of a diagonal, and then drag out a line, and then I want to hit Command D, 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 D. Cool. And now I can take this, hit Command C, Command Shift V. So there is one on top. It doesn't have a fill, so it is there though. If it's going to help you, I'll give you a fill so you can see it. Okay, so it is there. And then now drag a box over that, right click, and then I will hit Make Clipping Mask. Okay, and then what I'm going to do to the border of that shape is give it a weird stroke effect. Oh, it wants to do it to all of them. So I'm going to undo that, and then I'll select this, right click. Well, that's going to overcomplicate things. So I'm just going to keep that in there like this, okay? And then I might even duplicate this again right there. Maybe even rotate it. So we have maybe some crisscrossing happening. Okay. All right, and then now we'll take this, we'll go Command C, Command Shift V, paste that on top. We're gonna select everything. We're gonna right click, we're gonna make clipping mask, and bada bing, bada boom. Okay, probably some other cool things that you can do inside that. I don't know if that's very cool, but anyhow, hit Command S to save, and then I'm gonna go to Object, Show All, and now we're bringing our stuff back. So at this point, I will lock that one as well, probably hide it, and then repeat the steps. All right, hit Command S to save, and when you're all done, we'll go to File, and then we'll go to Export, and let's save this one as a PDF. So you'll have the correct nameage right here, which is Kern. It's your last name, mine is Kern. Your first name, mine is Josh, and then Power of Line. Save it to your folder on your desktop, and then wherever your folder is, and then change the format to Adobe PDF, And let's make sure we use artboards. Since I have two artboards, I would select arrange and then select the final one that I had right there. You'll just do artboard, select all, assuming you have one. You'll hit export, and then what I want you to do is to check this box, and I want you to select high quality PDF print. And that's going to give us a very high quality print, in which you'll hit export. Then that PDF will be on your desktop, and that's what you'll turn in for your assignment. All right, see you in the next one.